I look like shit right now, and I'm in no state of mind to be recording right now. This video was going to be a video I was going to make and do more, like, professionally after I did my Popgo series. The Popgo series is still on the way. I apologize it's taking so long, and I was going to make a video talking about the fanverse generally speaking once that was done. But with just how much has been going on in discussion of it, I think now is the best time to make this video. And I'm simply here to say to you directly, the viewer, the fanverse is not nearly as problematic as you seem to think it is. This idea that the fanverse is some sort of controversial thing is almost a borderline lie. Like, is it perfect? No. Have there been issues with it? Absolutely. But the fact that I hear all these things like, oh man, it feels like all the people in here are terrible. Oh man, the fanverse is dying. Oh no, it's already dead. That's the most ridiculous thing I can think of. That's just so far from the truth. The fanverse consists of a lot of people. The faces of the fanverse are really only 5 people, being the lead developers or lead directors of the games in the fanverse. But for the most part, there are teams behind these games. There are a lot of people, some of you might not even know of. And the idea that we're bundling all these people together to say they're terrible because fanverse terrible, it's ridiculous, it's insulting, and it's so unfair for a list of people. Like, just taking Popgo's Arcade 2020 into account. You have Kane Carter, Emil Macko, Garret, also known as Garret McKay, Vitch, Sian, I believe it's pronounced. I apologize if I'm getting that wrong. They also go by Turntail, to my understanding. Smashing Renders, and Consta Kaimik. Sorry if I pronounced any of those wrong. But that's a list of people that worked on this one game, that is a part of this one series, that is a part of this entire initiative. Like, it is tremendously unfair to discredit their work, and also the fact that they are just simply not bad people, because of some situations that have happened. I don't know everyone in the fanverse super well, of course, but I can tell you, first of all, there are a lot of people in the fanverse that you have never even heard of, because they haven't done any bad things. But also, the ones that I do know, I know for a fact to be good people. Kane Carter, I've spoken to for quite a long time at this point now. We've talked quite a bit, and he's been nothing but nice, nothing but kind. He's very smart, very funny, very talented, and I see no problem with him. Morg, Phisnom, may be a little controversial from time to time because he gives hard opinions on things. If that's controversial enough to discredit the entire initiative, I think that's a you problem. But Phil, very talented, very smart, very entertaining, really cool guy. He just happens to dislike things sometimes. Emil Macko, also very talented, also very smart, also very kind, also very entertaining. What is the problem here? And those are just, like, 3 of the faces of the fanverse. Like, there's so many people that put their heart into the fanverse. Like, I don't think you understand how unfair this is for a lot of people. Because there are so many people that are hardworking and dedicated to these projects because this is an opportunity for them and they want to help other people with their projects. Like, there are so many people working hard right now, and they have to wake up every day to the fanverse is dead. Like, that is the most demotivating thing ever, and that is such an unfair thing to hear every day when you are working every day. I received a statement to read in this video from @StupidButterfly, who is Ellie. They are an artist for Popgo's, and I really like them. I think they're really cool. We haven't spoken a lot, necessarily, but they seem like a really sweet person, and I think this is something that everyone should hear. Before the fanverse, I was kind of hitting a wall. For the longest time, I thought going into animation was my only option for a career, and when college didn't work out for me, I felt completely aimless. I didn't draw much of anything for a few years, I was in a slump, and I had no idea how to get out of it. And then Kane approached me. I'd worked with him in the past, but we hadn't spoken for about 2 years, so I wasn't expecting to be contacted again, but he did. He told me about the fanverse, and I was brought onto Evergreen to work on illustrations within the in-game restaurant. I've learned since then just how much I love working in a team and seeing everyone's efforts come together. I've met some amazing people and built up a decent portfolio and realized just how much I love games. I'm in my element. I've found my passion. It conquered a years-old fear that I was useless and that I would never find the drive to do anything of value. I thought so little of myself, and now I get to see games I worked on go on Steam as a part of a franchise that's inspired me for years. How can I not appreciate that? I can't not be excited to do my best for such a talented community I love so much. Those are the words of a single person working on only one of the games in the Fanverse. Like, when they first sent that to me, like, it hurt me, honestly, because, like, to hear that they were in such a slump with their creative work, and then Popgoes was able to do that for them, like, take them out of that and give them so much that they felt they finally had a purpose for their creativity and skills. And then I immediately think back to the fact that people say the Fanverse is dead on a daily basis. The fact that people are always throwing out things like, the Fanverse is so toxic. Why are all the developers so evil? Why is everyone in the fan game community so bad? Like, it's just not the case at all. Also, I think this is something worth mentioning. How many controversies has there actually been in connection to the Fanverse? The big one was Jonachrome, which is fair. That happened. We can't pretend it didn't happen. That happened. Now, can you think of anything else? Let's see, there was the Afton built situation. Tell me how that makes the Fanverse look bad, and how it makes specifically the people in the Fanverse look bad. The Aftonville situation was literally just a guy named Liam being pissy that he didn't get into the Fanverse. He was just a whiny bitch about it. I'm sorry, maybe he's a good guy and all, but he was just whining about it and spread, like, all this negativity about the Fanverse because he didn't get in it. Like, the only way that made the Fanverse look bad was Scott apparently isn't very good at responding to emails. Every other thing was coming from the opinion of someone who was strongly biased. Like, the Aftonville situation was literally just a game that didn't get into the Fanverse and had nothing to do with the people that were working within the Fanverse. I don't think that counts. Then there was the Pear situation, which also isn't directly tapped into the Fanverse unless you read between the lines a bit, I guess. The Pear had leaks for a lot of games that had absolutely no connection to the Fanverse. I know this for a fact because I was approached by developers that were worried about their leaks, and they have nothing to do with the Fanverse. Some of them are actually quite underground. And the only way this was connected to the Fanverse was some of these people had the potential to be in the Fanverse, and they also had leaks for things in the Fanverse. You could argue the Fanverse was the motivation behind it, and I definitely think that's possible because, for example, I think Ultranite had a lot of jealousy towards Kane Carter, and I have a feeling that has to do with his role in the Fanverse initiative. That's just a guess, though, and the fact that it's just a guess is kind of also proving my point. The Pear was just a thing done by a few bad people, and it really has really no say on what the creators within the Fanverse are actually like, and that very well could have happened if it weren't for if the Fanverse wasn't a thing, because, again, there were a lot of leaks for non-Fanverse games, and I'm pretty sure one of the three main people had no chance of getting in the Fanverse at all. So the Pear was a terrible thing, and was a big deal in the fan game community as a whole, but I refuse to relate it specifically to the Fanverse. And then one that people bring up is that Phil was talking shit about FNAF when Security Breach came out. So was I? I refuse to call that a controversy. Like, Phil is a fan of old school FNAF, doesn't like the new FNAF stuff, which is why he's literally remaking the first FNAF game. Like, who cares? How is this a big deal? What is the deal here? What's the deal? And I guess the new one that technically inspired this video to come out today was, like, Kane Carter, like, talking about Popgo's sales and stuff on Twitter, and I guess some people think that makes him look bad. I don't. Kane is a human being. He is not a corporation. He has every right to express his feelings, and he has every right to feel the way he feels, and I don't care about anything he said on Twitter. I think Kane is a totally nice guy. Maybe there might be a few things that I disagree with to some extent, but he's a good guy and a smart guy, and I don't have a problem with anything he did on Twitter in the last few days. So yeah, you have Kane, Ellie, Phil, Emil, Garret, Sean, just to name a few in the Fanverse that are really hardworking people that have done nothing wrong. And they are being affected by this so strongly for no fucking reason. Also, the Fanverse being dead implies something very specific, which is that the Fanverse, meaning what the Fanverse provides, meaning games, is like not happening or like dying off, which is bullshit. Pop Goes Arcade just came out and it was great. One Night Flumpties 3 came out and it was great. FNAF Plus will probably come out by the end of this year and it looks fantastic. FNAF 4 will resume development whenever Emil is finished with Pop Goes. And Pop Goes Evergreen will now be pursuing development, I assume, following Arcade. And the Joy of Creation Ignited Collection is also resuming development because Nixon is done with his work with, I forget the name of the team that he's a part of, but he's done with that, so he's back to the Joy of Creation. I feel like the only real problem that is specifically connected to the Fanverse was Jonachrome. I can't think of anything else. I mean, calling the elephant in the room, I did at one point acknowledge my problems with Nixon specifically. I chose to remove that video, not because of the backlash I was getting. I have a feeling some people think that. I had no problem with that. I removed my video about Nixon because I didn't want it to affect the other Fanverse negatively. The other Fanverse developers negatively. But yes, I have personally had issues with Nixon, and I spoke about that publicly, and I do somewhat regret that. But I said many times, you know, that you can support the Joy of Creation all you want. The Joy of Creation Ignited Collection is coming out. It's going to be a big thing. It's going to be great. And you can support Nixon all you want. I don't care. I feel like the only significant issue with the Fanverse that happened was Jonachrome. And he is the one guy that doesn't have a game coming out anymore. Like, his thing in the Fanverse is finished. He is the only one that is done with the Fanverse. So, let's move the fuck on now. I wholeheartedly have some sort of bias in this because I have a bias towards FNAF, I have a bias towards the Fanverse, I have a bias towards people in the Fanverse. Specifically, mostly Emil, Kane, and Ellie, and Phil, actually. I guess I like all of them. I like them, so I have some bias in this. But I look at the Fanverse controversies, and I'm like, really not that controversial. The Fanverse is a beautiful thing, that, like I was able to show with, like, Ellie's statement, that is, it's affected people's lives in such positive ways. And on top of that, it's giving us, hardcore FNAF fans, amazing content. We've gotten 2 games so far, and they are 2 of the best FNAF fan games, for sure. There have been downsides to the Fanverse, but I literally heard at one point in a big video the phrase, "I see no silver linings to the Fanverse." I see only silver. Like, I see pure silver. The whole thing is gold, actually. Like, it is a great thing that has done so much for so many people, and it is going to continue to do things for us. Like, just support the Fanverse, please. That's really all that I ask. Pop Goes Arcade is on Steam. It is cheap, and it is a lot of content, and the Easter eggs there is, if you are looking for, like, traditional FNAF stuff, the Easter eggs will blow you away. And even if you're not that big of a fan of, like, simplistic RPGs or, like, 8-bit style games, you'll find something to like. The mechanics are well crafted and well balanced. The music is fucking great. There are some fantastic character designs. And once again, the Easter eggs are some of the best I've seen in any game. The Easter eggs, I love them so much. Yeah, just support the Fanverse developers, please. I will link a bunch of them in the description. I don't know if I'll be able to get to all of them, because there are so many that I don't even know all of them, which is why it's ridiculous to bundle them all together in some sort of negative way. But yes, there will be plenty of links in the description. The top one will be Pop Goes Arcade on Steam. Please check it out, because the team worked hard on it, and they are all amazing, and I want them to get that support. That is going to be all from me. Thank you for watching. If anyone in the Fanverse watches this, I just want to say thank you for what you do, and I'm sorry if I've caused any negativity towards the Fanverse. Some people seem to think that I did, and I'm sorry if that is the case. I will never do so again, because I love the Fanverse so much, and I love the people in the Fanverse. I just want you to know that. So, yeah. That's going to be all from me. Thank you for watching.